Good afternoon, Shabbos, everybody. It is Friday afternoon. It's Sarbateves, so we're fasting. It's having a Baruch Hashem feeling okay. It's about 2:15, another couple hours, and we'll be able to break the fast, have Kiddush. Very interesting thoughts on this week's parsha. Obviously, we have Nifal Mipanav, that the brothers are just astounded and shocked. There's no good word for it. How shocked they are. And the other big piece is vayigash. What's this approaching that Yehuda does towards the beginning at the beginning of the parsha? So, I'm first to talk about how shocked we're going to be at Yom HaMisa, Yom Hadin, when we're going to see that we could have been greater, we could have been better, we could have done a lot more, and we didn't reach that potential. I don't know what exactly takes place. It's a little hard to understand exactly. But one of the pieces that is very important is this acknowledgement that Yehuda acknowledges at the beginning of the vayigash. So vayigash is an acknowledgement to really understand and moda. So hoda Yehudi, that was Yehuda's name, is not just thanks, but it's acknowledgement and appreciation. So the fact that Yehuda, who was up until this point the leader really of the brothers, understands now that he is not, doesn't have the strength, he doesn't have the ability to overcome, and he admits, he agrees that he has to take a step back. And Sfas Emes says not even a Jewish king. He thought he was a Mitzri, so it was a big step back and acknowledgement. And Sfas Emes really talks about how the entire approach of the parsha, of Mitzrayim, of the Gullus, is an acknowledgement, is that we have to understand that the root, the shorosh for the Gullus is the Geula. So really, inside of the Gullus is the Geula, and the living and the approach that we take in Gullus is going to help us reach that high levels. We said that a person does succeed or get to high levels unless he's tested, unless he goes through this. And this is what Yehuda acknowledges. He's moda, he lowers himself, he's mevatel, his koach to what Hashem wants and to what's taking place. And the astonishment and the shock that the brothers all face is that they realize this whole chain of events hit them all in one spot. Even though they actually knew in last week's parsha that they knew this bad things were happening because of what they did to Yosef. But when Yosef, they see him, not just, okay, these troubles that they're going through, it's a punishment, I get that. But now to see Yosef, the one who's making all the cards, holding all the cards, feeding the whole world, supporting the world, they're just beyond words, astonishment what's taking place. Some people know this, some people don't know this. I hurt my back about 6 weeks ago. I hurt my back rolling the Torah, and it didn't take me long to really understand what I believe was the cause, or a cause of this, or maybe one of the reasons is I actually was approached by Hatzalah to give money, to help sponsor a transport. They transport the people to the hospital, and Hatzalah Beit Shemesh, they're looking for people to raise money, and I said maybe, and then a day later I turned them down, and I gave them less amount. Instead of 600 shekel, I gave them 100 a month, and instead of 600 plus 150 a month, I gave 100. And I said, in my mind, I'm like, 100's not bad. It's more than I had before. And I hung up the phone, thinking, could I have done it? Could I not have done it? Maybe I should have done it. And 6 days later, I actually had to be transported by Hatzalah Beit Shemesh to the hospital with my back. And as I'm literally on my back, in the ambulance, look at the top of the roof, and I'm in the hospital. I get an email, and I pick up my phone, and it was the 100 shekel receipt. So they emailed me the 100 shekel, and it really came clear to me that hurting my back, rolling the Torah, it didn't happen bicycling, didn't happen playing ball or something. Hurt my back rolling the Torah, and it occurred to me that I think I should up my game and approach, giving tzedakah better. If I can give it, give it. If you can't, don't. As opposed to, approaching it. I think my approach is definitely lacking. And I attribute this, and this is not just that. It's this acknowledgement that not just what happens to me is from Hashem, but all the other pieces around, all the other steps around. I was talking to my friend Shammai Elman on the way back from the chiropractor this week. It's not just what's happening to me is geared by Hashem, but whatever takes place around me and the next steps. The guy who drove me to Hatzalah that night, the guy who the doctor who saw me, all these pieces that this came to happen is all from Hashem, and all these pieces really comes from Hashem, and that's the shock that we're going to see, L'asad Lavo, of all these seemingly bad things or good things that come in our lives really have a purpose and really are tied together, and they're from Hashem. We know that Yaakov, the first thing he sees Yosef, he says Shema. What his mom, he had a time, he knew it. No, the point is, you have to acknowledge Hashem, as the same thing we talk about Hashem, we say Tehillim when things are not going well and bad. Do we really think about Hashem when things are going good? Do we really attach Hashem to our emotions? And the more you let your emotions run you, and towards Gashmis even, or anything, you forget about that it came from Hashem. You really forget that it came from Hashem. And this act of simcha, this great simcha that Yaakov all these years cried for his son, and Yosef cried for his father. A very emotional time. The first thing Yaakov says is, I have to acknowledge that this came from Hashem. I have to share my simcha from Hashem. And this is something Sfas Emes says in every Jewish person. During the week, we're working. Shabbos, we're resting. So it's just two things we're working on here. During the week, we kind of have nisyonos, and we're working, and we're bettering ourselves. And we have the realization and the menucha that things come from Hashem on Shabbos. And there's two things together, this act of Yehuda, of work, charish, of plowing, and this act of gaining and reaping from Hashem is like Yosef from Shabbos. These things come together in this week's parsha, and this is what comes together. And hopefully we get to see this. And just like Yosef had to go through all these horrible things in his life, but at this point, now they acknowledge, what? Without the brothers, Yosef wouldn't be in this position, and Yosef had to be here. Yosef had to save the world from the famine. Yosef had to be the one to not start the gullus, but start the way to them get out of the gullus. And they had to come to gullus. At some point, they're going to go to gullus, go to Mitzrayim. But Yosef shows how they're going to get out of gullus. And this is kind of Hashem bringing the refuah before the makkah. And this is kind of the start. We're in Corona. We don't know what the case is. And it's like looking at a picture. I called my friend Moshe Oberman first time in a year. We talk vayigash. The Halakanav, he has a whole arrangement he does as far as with tour guides, and he shocks people, and it's all the tova, Baruch Hashem. He said he took people to a famous weaver of pictures in Tzfat. He forgot the woman's name, and the people look at it from afar, and oh wow, what a nice painting. And the woman look closer, and they notice it's weaving. It's thousands and thousands of threads. And the people are blown away. Oh my gosh, that's, from far it looks one thing. It looks so difficult. Oh my gosh, you see all the pieces together. And she says, look at the back. And you look at the back. If you ever see someone who's weaving or sewing or weaving, the back is all the loose threads. And the woman, or Moshe Oberman, I think the woman said this, is that the mashal is, we see the threads. We see loose threads. We see things all over the place. Corona, death, people getting sick. People hurting their back, rolling the Torah, all these things crazy happening, but really Hashem sees the other side. Hashem knows the picture, what's now, what's going to be, and hopefully, L'asad Lavo, we get to flip the picture around. Instead of seeing the loose threads, we get to see the actual beautiful picture, the mosaic that Hashem put together for us. Shabbat Shalom.